Day 2 of the 2025 Karting Champions League Winter Series here at Marienborg gets underway with the first heat on day 2 of Saturday. Alessandro Tudisca will start from pole position in X30 Senior Heat 3, Groups B versus C, and he'll have Heat 2 winner alongside him on the front row, Matthias van der Kerkhoff. CJ Bennett will hopefully look to make amends for what happened to him in his first heat of the weekend. He starts from the inside of row 2 with Yanni Bouillet alongside Casper Norman and Annabelle Bryan round out row number 3. Apologies to Tobias Norman, who was actually put down under the German national flag. He's actually Danish and related, of course, to Casper. So Tobias, representing Denmark, will be then joined on row 4 by Dinan de Vos in the 253. From the Netherlands, Joris Schoens in the 365 for Laurea GT1 Racing is lining up on the inside of row number 5, and Luca Montebello completes the top 10. Rafael Linders and Wouter Bergano round out the top 12, ahead of Senna Meunier and Roxanne Lansinger. Kiana Wellens, Mathis Renet, Noah Hubert, Kaz Othaus, Marit Schurman and Mathis Marschalt round out the 20-strong grid. So now go on to their official formation lap. So a big amount of low-lying freezing fog this morning. It was visibility was at a premium, but obviously safety regulations came into play, as we did not want to have any drivers having any engine dramas, most specifically with the carburetors. Of course, with you get low-lying freezing fog, it sort of condensates and becomes sort of very much a bit of an issue if the carburetor gets filled with a little bit of water, can seize up the internals and thereby potentially cause a major catastrophic internal engine failure as a direct result. But the formation lap is coming towards the end of it, of course, dry track, but it is more than cold. It's nigh enough Baltic with regards to the conditions here today. And we are very much set and ready to go racing. Sunshine looks to be round about here for the rest of the day, and sunset local time in Couvin is going to be just before quarter past 5 this afternoon, so hopefully we'll be done with about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to spare. So once again, 10 minutes plus an additional lap for all the classes apart from Iame Mini, who'll be running 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Now it's down to Tudisca and van der Kerkhoff to control the pace, and they're doing it very quickly coming out of the final right-hander. Everyone starting to bunch up into the side-by-side rolling start formation, which you see not just in karting, but also GT4, GT3 racing, and also as high up as GT World Challenge and the World Endurance Championship and the forthcoming Asian Le Mans Series. Into the tram lines we go. Red lights on the gantry. And revs up, lights on, lights are out, we're underway, and a good start by Tudisca as CJ Bennett pounces up the inside of Matthias van der Kerkhoff, who's being confronted up the inside going into T2, but van der Kerkhoff manages to defend that for the meantime. That looks to be Casper Norman, might have just made a good hole shot on the start and has gotten up into 4th. Into turn 4 for the first time, and Tudisca starting to stretch out an early advantage. Bennett in 2nd, van der Kerkhoff in 3rd, as we've had one go exit stage right onto the damp and muddy grass off of turn number 4. Looked like a Kart Republic chassis. We'll pick up who that was in just a moment's time. They will break the beam now through the first half of Escargot and then head into the final triple right-hander before we go back onto the start-finish straight. Times will be a lot quicker in terms of the lap times recorded by the drivers, as the conditions are nice and dry on the tarmac. Looks like we have got one move happening, might have been, as now we've seen another move happen, and that is Matthias van der Kerkhoff back through on CJ Bennett at turn 1 through into P2, and now Bennett might try and see if he can get the upper hand, but of course this event, folks, is a winner-take-all, so the results of the final tomorrow afternoon will be the results of the weekend event. Tudisca having, and a bit of a stumble there. A big old stumble. And that was Alessandro Tudisca going through into Chemin de Fer. I think he just might have hit a slight damp patch. Or he went a bit wide going into the approach, and then both Victory Lane carts were through. So big drama there from Alessandro Tudisca. An unforced error from the 265 for RSD Karting. And now it's a victory lane 1-2. Van der Kerkhoff leads Bennett. Could be a change for 5th. Casper Norman up the inside of Tobias Norman. And Yanni Bouillet currently holding station in 3rd at the minute. Mathis Marchalt has already bolted halfway up the field. Started last, now P10, and only just a shade under 3 seconds off of the race lead. Seems like my motivational chat with him via Instagram direct messaging has had a very profound effect. But now Matthias van der Kerkhoff has got a bit of a slightly lengthier lead. It was 0.2 of a second after lap 2, and through Escargot it looks like it will be slightly bigger, as Matthias van der Kerkhoff now with clear air has done a 38.3 in the opening sector. Bennett 7/10 off, so that's going to be more of about a second lead, maybe 1.2, and it is just a shade under a second. Yanni Bouillet looking very, very racy. Casper and Tobias Norman, the 2 Danes, are being closed in on by Alessandro Turisca. And then Annabelle Bryan holding station in 7th. But then you see the 250 of KCR Racing's Mathis Marchalt. And, well, good move there by Alessandro Turisca through on Tobias Norman at T4. And that's a very difficult place to put that through. Chemin de Fer sees Mathis Marchalt through on Annabelle Bryan. That's 13 places gained within just the first 3 minutes and 40 seconds of this race. So Mathis Marchalt on a tear. Oh, and that's one of the Normans going off. Big moment coming out of the penultimate right-hander. And it all went horribly wrong. The KCR Racing driver has now got a very, very dirty set of scrub tyres. And Casper Norman drops to 9th ahead of Senna Meunier, who's up 3 spots in his own right. And there could be a change here. That's Luca Montebello, I believe. Yep, Montebello through. The RSD karting driver through on Annabelle Bryan. So that is a change for 7th position. But Mathis Marchalt has been on an absolute tear at the minute. And now is up 15 places. 2.8 seconds was the Belgian away from the race leader, Matthias van der Kerkhoff, who's starting to expand that gap. It was a further 10th and a half plus change that van der Kerkhoff in the number 236 was able to expand the gap. Yanni Bouillet closing in on CJ Bennett. And that's the battle for P2. Looks to be a better result for the Irishman this time. But at the halfway point, it's Turisca. Turisca gets through. And now he says to CJ Bennett, right, CJ, don't fight me. Let's go after Matthias. And that's going to be quite crucial. They may be in different camps, but you know, one of the things you want to do as a racing driver, you want to beat your teammates. And Bennett did a really good job early doors to get through on van der Kerkhoff. But Turisca quickest in sector 2, fastest of anybody. And now, well, Turisca has dropped CJ Bennett as Mathis Marchalt. Oh, that was coming out of the left-hander following Chemin de Fer. Mathis Marchalt now up to 4th, 16 spots by the 250 from Belgium. You can see how motivated he is. One of the Normans gets past. That's Tobias Norman being passed by Annabelle Bryan. So the 383 gets past the 353. There they go. Well, we've got a couple of time penalties coming in as Tobias Norman gets back through on Annabelle Bryan. They've got Senna Meunier right with them, along with Raphael Linders. Casper Norman in the back of the train, along with Wouter Bergano. I wondered who the Fusion driver was in this field, and it's the 234. A couple of penalties in race. 3:47. Mathis Reinet will get a 5-second post-race penalty for 3 to 4 wheels being out of the corridor on the tram lines at the start. 2:28. Luca Montebello is going to get a 3-second time penalty post-race. 2 wheels out of the tram lines. So at the minute, Montebello would drop quite considerably all the way down to 14th. And that is Raphael Linders, the 366. on the penultimate right-hander. Tried to get the kart going, and on slick tyres, that is no bueno, I'm afraid. Just spooled up the rear tyres. Yellow flags are out. Leenders has pulled the kart unassisted back onto the circuit, but those tyres are going to be slipperier than an ice rink right at this point. There'll be no traction at all. And that has put Rafael Leenders to down what will be stone dead last, I'm afraid. And dive bomb and then some. That was Yanni Bouillet through, I think, on CJ Bennett, who now is behind Matthias Mersholt. So Mersholt now into third position, but in the meantime, Alessandro Tudisca has been putting in qualifying style laps again, and the gap was 0.6 last time round. It's 0.3. He's more than halved it. 56.322 was the last lap by Alessandro Tudisca. Matthias van der Kerkhoff, 56.690. Tudisca for the move up the inside at turn 3, and he's got it. Well, once again, Alessandro Tudisca not having the best of starts, but during the race, he's absolutely flying. And can he start putting distance between himself and victory lanes? Matthias van der Kerkhoff. Matthias Merscholt's got to find probably the best part of 2 seconds. If you said he'd had about double the time that's left on the timer, which is about 1 minute and 40 to go, plus a lap, I would say yes, there is a definitive possibility. And there's been drama. Roxanne Lantinga is out. A real shame for the younger sister of Kevin Lantinga. Kevin, who won the opening heat of the weekend. So Roxanne Lantinga and Rafael Leenders. I'm not at all surprised that Leenders decided to pit the kart after going off exit stage left. As Yori Schoens and Mathis Renetta been having a bit of a 2 and 8 going into turns 1, now into 2. And Yori Schoens just says, you know what, I'm not going to fight too hard about that. But then Keanu Vellens gets through in the 262 for Eichmann's Grand Prix. And here comes Casper Norman, and he gets through as well. So Yori Schoens was in 11th, now drops all the way down to 14th place. As our leaders are now making their way through out of Escargot. They've broken the timing beam once again. And more to the point, Alessandro Tudisca on first sector pace is over 2.5 tenths of a second quicker than Matthias van der Kerkhoff. But we go on to 2 laps to go. Lap 10 in the books, 12 laps race distance scheduled. Into turn 1 for the penultimate time. And the battle between Tudisca and van der Kerkhoff is starting to intensify. Out of turn 2, carry the momentum through, have a little nibble at the curbing. This time through turn 3, the apex is more like the racing line rather than the curbing on the inside. Into T4. And then through into 5 on the run down to Chemin de Fer. I'm going to be really interested when they break the timing beam halfway through the Escargot section as to how much time Matthias Mersholt is closing in on the 2 in front. So, right, Matthias Mersholt not able to match the pace of neither Matthias van der Kerkhoff and Alessandro Tudisca. But this is going to help Merscholt's campaign. Dinan de Vos, latest retiree, the 253 from Belgium, retires on lap number 9. Last lap underway. And we still have 17 runners and riders out of the 20 that started this race just over 10 minutes ago. But the lead is still being hotly contested as Matthias van der Kerkhoff dives up the inside through at turn 3, and there's a blue flag up ahead. So I would say that is Marit Schaumann that is in front of Matthias van der Kerkhoff and Alessandro Tudisca. The back marker gets out of the way. Now this could give Tudisca the opportunity. Tudisca took a little bit more wallop of a curb, but into the Escargot section, a wallop of curb, a bit too much there for Matthias van der Kerkhoff, but it's going to be a run to the line in this heat. So who's it going to be? And now Tudisca swarms over the back of Matthias van der Kerkhoff. Now the run up the hill for the final time. Check it is going to be out. Van der Kerkhoff starts defending, and Tudisca has to stay in the wheel tracks and is 47 thousandths behind at the checkered. Well, there you go. That's a great way to start a Saturday afternoon of racing. 2 for 2 for Matthias van der Kerkhoff from victory lane, and he pips the hard-charging Alessandro Tedesca by 47 thousandths of a second. Matthias Menachot from the back of the grid to finish up 17 places to take third at the flag. Yanni Bouillet and CJ Bennett rounding out the top 5. Better result there for the Irish driver. Annabelle Bryan in 6th ahead of Tobias Norman. Good work by Senna Meunier to move up from 13th at the start to finish 8th ahead of Fusion Motorsports. Uta Bergano and RSD Karting's Luca Montebello, who rounds out the top 10. Casper Norman, Jori Schoens, Keanu Wellens, Noah Hubert and Mathis Lennett round out the top 15. There are still the penalties to be applied post-race. Right, 2-4-1. Casper Norman gets a 5-second post-race penalty for pushing. So Mathis Lennett rounds out the top 15 provisionally ahead of Kaz House and Marit Schurman, with Dinan de Vos, Roxanne Lantinga and Rafael Linders unfortunately retiring. Next up, Heat 4, Groups A versus D. X30 Senior is next.